You know, sometimes it only takes one single flame to start a whole fire. And one decision can actually change your entire life. For clothing, Our Kids founder, Mary Rio, it took learning the story of one student who came to school wearing the same outfit over and over. She knew she had to help.
And that's how the Sussex County organization was born more than 10 years ago. Well, since then, they've been able to clothe tens of thousands of children right here in our area. DelmarvaLife's Katie Cirilli shares the story.
Are you like...
That's perfect. Oh, that's gorgeous.
Help on hangers. Every article of clothing racked inside this space in Millsboro will be used to dress a Sussex County child in need.
It's not just giving them new clothes, it's giving them a sense of who they are and being able to enjoy where they are.
Kim Plum is a hardworking manager at Clothing Our Kids, an organization that founder Mary Rio initiated 10 years ago after a dinnertime conversation with her husband, who worked as a school administrator.
He told me about little Jamie, who didn't have any clothes. She just had a shirt, and she had a pair of pants, and she had shoes. And she just had one outfit. And it was in October, so she was wearing that one outfit from September on. The only time the family could wash it would be on Saturdays, so if she got dirty on a Monday, she had to wear it to school.
Hearing that one story of that one child moved Mary greatly.
From there on, I thought there has to be other people out there, and I thought, how many clothes do we buy our grandkids? I mean, seriously, they don't need all of those, and here's a child that doesn't have anything. I started to put feelers out that, you know, anybody that has children's clothing, give it to me and I will clean it up and give it out to someone who needs it.
She started to collect clothing and house it in her home to then give it out to students who were lacking in Sussex County schools and a few others.
When I think back on it, it was like 4 bins of clothes. That's all I had was 4 bins of clothes. And then it started to get more bins, and then it was like girls' bins, boys' bins. And then it just started, I had to get hang on, so I got the racks and stuff.
She got in contact with school nurses, offering them free underwear and sweatpants. And she connected with guidance counselors to find out which students may benefit from a few shirts and pants. They get the specifics and go from there.
So they came to us, we packed the box, we dropped it off at the school, at the guidance counselor. She contacted the family. They didn't know where it was coming from. They just got a box of clothing. To this day, the volunteers really never get a chance to see who the child is. We like it that way.
Mary doesn't see most of the children's reactions, but one she did see stands out. A boy who got a new pair of sneakers.
So everybody was like making fun of him, and he had duct tape around his shoes, and it would just flap, 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 flap. And he came up, and he just beamed. It just almost like he was going to cry, but no, he was too old to cry, you know?
At first, they collected lightly used clothes. A few years later, after outgrowing her home and a few other spaces, they moved here and made a connection with someone associated with a brand name clothing warehouse. And they were hooked up with new clothes.
They said, your shipment's coming. You remember this, Kim? Your shipment's coming in and it'll be there on Tuesday. I said, okay, I'll have some people there. But you don't understand. There's pallets of them. There were hundreds of socks and underwear and hooded sweatshirts and Nike shoes. And they were all brand names. And that's when this first started.
Now, everything's new. They've got volunteers who go out shopping to keep their stock full. Kim Plum started with the organization that way.
I'm gonna get teary-eyed. My husband only had 3 shirts and 2 pairs of pants when he went to school. So it hit me.
Kim's now a manager. She says this mission has significance deeper than the surface.
Children can be mean, and so having new clothing, having clothing with tags, having that you're not looking like the person next to you. Being able to have a different outfit all another day helps your esteem, makes you want to go to school.
Each child gets 5 shirts, 3 to 4 pairs of pants, underwear, socks, shoes, a hoodie, pajamas, and in the wintertime, a coat, hat, and scarf. Kim and her cohorts are intentional about every individual.
The last thing you want to do after you put all this work and time in to make the child feel independent and successful is give 5 kids in the school the same yellow shirt. Because then you might as well just put a cardboard on and said, I'm a Clothing Our Kids recipient.
Because they take such tender care of their recipients, the responses are remarkable.
We get letters after letters after letters that's telling us about the change in the child. The child wants to come to school. The child's doing so much better at school. No one's making fun of them. You know what I mean? It's not just new clothes. It's actually a new life.
Being part of this effort doesn't just look like donating clothes. Folks can also donate monetarily or volunteering their time. And Clothing Our Kids is also holding a fall clothing drive, and we're actually going to learn more about that next. We've got one of the hearts behind the organization here in the studio to tell us what's needed. As we just learned before the break, academic success for young students takes more than just hitting the books. In fact, some of the most essential elements are things, well, we all might take for granted.
That includes appropriate school clothing, which does so much for kids. It can impact their self-esteem, it can affect their attendance, and in some cases, a lack of clothing can lead to bullying.
And a mission to provide fall clothing for kids in Sussex County is in the middle of a concentrated effort to address this issue. We'd like to introduce Diane Poletti. She is the co-coordinator of special events with Clothing Our Kids. Thank you so much for being here, Diane.
Thank you for having me.
So why do you think people underestimate how important clothing is, appropriate clothing for children?
When we think of children in need, we often think of food, and we don't realize the importance that clothes have. When you and I got up this morning, we spent time trying to put ourselves together, and it's an important part of who we are. Some children have one outfit to put on for the day, so it really does have a negative impact on them.
So if you don't, I mean, it's been nice and warm here, but we're getting ready to turn cold. If you don't have the right kinds of clothes for the season, so what kind of stuff are you gathering?
We gather for each child. We have 5 outfits, and they go from underwear, shoes, socks, then the outerwear, pants, tops, zippered hoodies. We do pajamas. We do coats, hats, gloves in the warmer seasons.
Right.
And for those kids that are in transition, we get them a blanket and then toiletries as well.
Yeah.
So tell us about the reaction you get from the children.
Some of the school nurses have written us, and they're the ones that refer, your school nurses, your counselors. And they say they feel like the heroes because the kids come to school with big smiles on their face. We had a letter from a grandmother whose 5-year-old granddaughter, who she's raising, put the new outfit on and twirled in her living room and said, "I am beautiful." So it's quite impactful.
Yeah, I bet.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so you've got a clothing drive going on now.
We do.
How can we help? What can we do?
Georgetown Library is running the clothing drive until November 28th.
Okay.
And we are asking for sneakers, zippered hoodies, and pajamas. So if people could drop their new items,
Right.
we only accept new. Some of these kids have never had new clothes before, and some go to school even with their tags on because they're so proud to have
Okay.
new clothes.
Yeah.
So we ask that it's new clothes. Leave the labels on. We'll remove whatever needs to be removed.
Okay.
So that would be extremely helpful to the children of Sussex County. And we service all of Sussex County.
So what sizes? I mean, how old kids would...
That's a good question. School age sizes all the way through adults, because we're now doing middle schools as well. So the bigger sizes, plus sizes are always needed.
Okay.
Yeah. You know, Clothing Our Kids has been hard at work for a long time
10
providing
years.
these clothes. How does it feel to make such an impact on the community?
Wow. I'm a retired school nurse, and if I would have had this for my kids, what a difference it would have made. So it leaves an impact on the volunteers.
Right.
Yeah.
And it does for the community as well.
I think it does.
Oh my
I think it
goodness.
does.
Wow.
Well, thank you for all you do. I can tell you have a passion for it.
I do.
A wonderful organization, Diane Paletti with Clothing Our Kids. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.